Kitchen Nightmares, where are they now? When it comes to experience with restaurants, foods and hotels, no one beats Gordon Ramsay. But he's certainly not an easy guy to impress, and he proved that in Kitchen Nightmares. So, where are the restaurants now, and how are they doing? Are they still in business, or have they been shut down? Let's find out. Number 1. Mayfair. Jack's Chicken Shack closed. In one of the episodes of Kitchen Nightmares, Gordon Ramsay visited Mayfair restaurant in Fuengirola, Spain. The restaurant is owned by South Londoner Pat and her husband Jack, who is Spanish. They even opened a successful restaurant in London, but then they went back to Spain and that's where they opened Mayfair. It was like a second home to them. When Gordon first arrived at the restaurant, he noticed that there weren't many people there. Other than that, the condition of the place was a little concerning too. There were broken freezers and doors that were merely leaning against the wall. There were some sanitary issues in the place as well, as there was cooked meat and raw pork placed next to each other. After seeing meat rot in the place, Gordon ordered the kitchen to be closed immediately. After that, Jack made many changes in the place and named it Jack's Chicken Shack. It worked really well for a few more years. Then finally, in 2019, it was permanently closed when it failed to open for the new season. Number 2. Le Dec closed. Le Dec is one of the French restaurants that Ramsay visited in Kitchen Nightmares, and the episode that featured this restaurant was aired in September 2014. It is located near the waters, so it makes it a great spot and was set up for success. But how long did that last for? Keep on watching to find out. Well, the restaurant was owned by a couple, Tim and Debbie Wall, who owned many other successful hotels and restaurants as well. They invested over £1 million into their business, but soon they were losing more than what they started with. That's when Ramsay came to the rescue. He ordered food, walked around and saw the place. He didn't have a great experience with the food though, but he moved past it and talked about the finances of the place. He concluded that the couple was having a midlife crisis. Anyway, he suggested some changes to them and told them how things would go downhill if they didn't tweak a couple of things here and there and manage their money better. The restaurant did have a good run after that and was grossing €17,500, but it did not last long. Today, it is no longer working and has been permanently closed. That's what happens when you don't listen to Gordon. Number 3. Quelcuttis Tappas closed. Quelcuttis restaurant was in Settler, Spain, and was featured in Ramsay's special Kitchen Nightmares series. The owner spent his life savings in this place, and when it didn't flourish as much, Ramsay's help was needed. He went to the restaurant and looked around, finding many things that ticked him off. The barman didn't know how to converse with the customers and was very rude. What he did was introduce some new dishes to the menu of the restaurant and advise them of some stuff they could do to make things better. But did they though? Well, on the surface, things seemed to be getting better, but underneath that, stuff wasn't all that great. It closed for good in August 2015, and the owner blamed the closure on the changes that Gordon Ramsay made. Imagine being so dumb you blame your business failing on the one guy that tried saving your restaurant. Number 4. La Granada Divino closed. In one of the episodes of the series, Gordon Ramsay visited La Granada Divino in Gaucin, Spain. After going there, he ordered different kinds of foods and actually liked them. It might come off as surprising to you, but it was actually one of the restaurants that the critic was impressed by. He said that the communication of the people there was great, and so was the food. But how is it working out for the restaurant today is the bigger question. Well, after Gordon left, the restaurant was doing pretty well, and the owners took a step back and let the staff run everything. Even though the business was doing pretty well, it closed in September 2015 because the owners retired from the business trade. The restaurant might not be active today, but that doesn't change the fact that this was one of the most impressive restaurants that was featured on Gordon Ramsay's series Kitchen Nightmares. Number 5. Old Neighborhood Restaurant closed. Okay, so moving on to the next restaurant, we have the Old Neighborhood Restaurant, which was located in Arvada, Colorado. It was owned by a married couple, Randy and Alexa, who bought the restaurant 25 years ago. Previously, they worked as servers before they owned their own place. Their business was initially good, but then it started declining and they needed help in figuring stuff out. The customers started complaining about the food and the weird dishes that they had on the menu, and they thought that the decoration was outdated and the furniture was falling apart on customers. Soon they were in debt and the restaurant was forced to close. Ramsay arrived there and ordered some food, and while waiting for it, he realized that the biggest problem of the place was the outdated decoration that was driving the customers away. The staff wasn't even allowed to take off the decorations that were more than 30 years old. Anyway, he pitched in some ideas and insisted that the wallpaper of the place be changed because it made the place look ancient and not really in a good way. When he had his meal, he was even more disappointed and talked to the chef about it. The chef, on the other hand, got offended and said that he did his best, but Ramsay thought otherwise. Suffice to say, things were not going that great. So, how is that place doing today? Well, for the longest of times it had mixed reviews, but it finally ended up being sold in June 2014. Number 6. Kati Allo, closed. Kati Allo was a restaurant in Queens, New York. It was bought in 2000 by Manny and his wife Christina. Neither of them had previous experience of working in a restaurant, let alone opening one, so it's probably not surprising that things did not start up nicely for them. When Gordon arrived there, he met the owners and was surprised to find out the unplanned and impromptu purchase the owners had made. They literally bought it just for the sake of adventure and experience. And that's exactly why the business went downhill, because they treated it like it was only supposed to be fun and games. They blamed each other for the unsuccessful restaurant, and all this led to a divorce soon. Things got worse because they'd even sold their house to keep the business running. Anyway, what Gordon tried to do was make the people look eye to eye and work together, and so only in a short period of time, things seemed to be starting to get better. Number 7. Mangia Mangia, closed. Mangia Mangia was located in Woodland Park, Colorado. Mangia Mangia was bought by owner Julie Watson, who just wanted to own a restaurant. Julie thought that without any competition, they would be able to thrive in the area. But the staff believed that Julie was bad at running the restaurant, and perhaps she was. Keep watching to know more. Also, it might be a little unsettling to know, but the number of restaurants closed after being on the show is much greater than the number of restaurants that were renovated and back into business. That's because they were seen with their faults publicly, and some owners just couldn't afford to make any changes and gave up their property. But one thing is for sure though, Ramsay, in most cases, did indeed try to help. Anyways, when he arrived at the restaurant, he was kind of puzzled by the architecture because there was a drive-through window he had to pass. And normally restaurants don't have that kind of architecture, so guess he's not to be blamed. After spending almost a day there, Ramsay wasn't completely impressed, but not disappointed either. He advised some changes in the decoration and menu as well. If we talk about the restaurant today and how it is doing, well, not so good, and that probably doesn't really come off as a surprise, does it? Initially, they kept all the changes that Ramsay had suggested, and the restaurant mostly had positive reviews on Yelp, but from there things just started going downhill. And in November 2014, it was finally closed. Number 8. Zayna Flaming Grill. In one of the episodes of Kitchen Nightmares, Ramsay visited Zayna Flaming Grill in Redondo Beach, California, which is owned by Faye and her niece Brenda, who opened it in 2009 with a common dream to own a business. Brenda said they were 50-50 partners, but she also worked as a server. Her not being treated equally was one of the major roots of their problems. Anyway, Ramsay tried to sort stuff out for them. Then he ordered some goods, but honestly he did not like it. He thought that the hummus he got from the grocery store was much better. In his next visit, he put all the restaurant's problems on the table and helped them fix them, and that is the reason the place is doing good even today and has a lot of positive reviews.